You're listening to the Outside the Jersey podcast with Alex Playtett. Hey guys, just before we get started, just want to give you a quick update. The reason for the lack of upload over the past couple of months is because of my full-time job. I work in sports full-time, and right now is the busiest time of the year for us. The season runs from October through April, so it's been really hard to schedule some time to interview people and as well as edit, and on top of my daily workload. That being said, more frequent uploads should be coming soon as the season is over in April. As for today's episode, we have Chelisa Painter, who is an official for the NBA G League and as well as women's college basketball. She was also a Division I basketball player who went overseas to play professionally for a few seasons before transitioning full-time to officiating. Last but certainly not least, she is a qualified mental health professional. She juggles that and officiating as her full-time career, and today we learn a little bit more what she's like outside the jersey. Thank you guys so much for listening to Outside the Jersey. Today we are joined by Chelisa Painter. That's how it's pronounced, right?
Yes.
Perfect. She is an official for the NBA G League and women's college basketball as well. And she got her start at Old Dominion College playing basketball and as well as George Washington. She played overseas for a couple seasons. And happy to have her on the podcast today. Chelisa, can you give me a rundown of your background in your own words?
Wow. It's obviously all around basketball, of course. But I feel like I started basketball pretty late, so I started at 14. So that's just a young girl who was presented an opportunity, to use basketball to get where I am today and hopefully influence other people. So that's about it.
And you ran with it.
Yeah.
That's good. Chelisa, what do you like to do in your free time outside of being an official and watching basketball?
So I actually love fashion. I love decor. I know you can only see like the picture behind me. So it's Rihanna. So I love putting things together. I love fashion shows. Honestly, the opposite side of sports, really.
So completely unplugged from sports after the whistle's down.
Yeah.
That's good. And is Rihanna your favorite artist?
Yes, Rihanna's my favorite artist. I love her. She's my favorite. No shots to the Beehive. I like Beyonce too, but Rihanna's my favorite.
All right. No, not. I like Rihanna. Especially my favorite song from her is "Love on the Brain." That's my favorite song from Rihanna.
I really love her whole catalog because her songs can express different emotions that you can resonate with. So
No, you're right. You're right. You're right about that. So transitioning a little bit back into your journey, how you got started. What made you choose basketball and start playing it, and then choose really pursuing that as a career?
So I guess basketball chose me. So I had a friend. Her name is Kiara Kelly, and every time I tell my story, I make sure I shout her out. She's my friend. She actually played basketball before I did, and she was like, "Can you try out with me?" Because she was nervous to try out, and I'm like, "Well, you played basketball. I never did. You think you're nervous? I'm gonna be nervous myself." So I tried out with her, and I made the team. And once I was introduced to what basketball can do for your future, i.e., get a free scholarship, I was like, well, let me pursue this more and, elevate my skills so I can receive a scholarship. So that's really actually how I got started. Just a friend asking me to try out with her in middle school.
So before that, you didn't have any interest in basketball or any kind of sport?
No, I mean, I was athletic. I would be a tomboy. I'll play outside with the boys and, play the street football and things like that. But never thought I would actually participate in an organized sport. No.
Well, look at God at work, putting you on the path to
You
greatness.
know,
um, so how did you transition from obviously never playing the sport until freshman year, and then getting a scholarship to to college and then pursuing it professionally for a couple seasons. Like how were those kind of transitions like, especially learning the game very, very quickly?
Okay, so I'm from Virginia. So everyone knows we have a lot of athletes that come out of Virginia. So I remember being in my middle school practice and a tall older gentleman comes into the practice. I don't know who he is. Um, Today he's known as Bob Dandridge. Um, Norfolk State actually just was inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame. He comes into the practice and he sees me. At the time, he was running AAU tournament, or excuse me, an AAU team for women or girls at the time. And he asked me to be part of his AAU team. AAU at this time is starting to, evolve. So I had no education on what it was. My mom didn't. So we were, kind of jumping into some, not knowing what we were doing. So he actually really helped me with my form, learning the game of basketball, just teaching me all the things that it can do for me and how to, increase my game to further myself. So I would say Bob Dandridge, another angel coming in my path and routing me to where I need to go.
So becoming obviously the tutelage of Bob Dandridge then and going into college, how was that transition like? Especially because the game definitely speeds up and is a little bit more physical than high school.
Right. So I'll never forget in middle school. So when I realized like, okay, I think I want to play basketball as the way to get to school. I'll never forget my first like attending my first high school basketball game. Um, and at my high school, there was the ladies playing. Shanice Fuller, she played at Georgetown. Tiffany Green, she played at Old Dominion. So these girls are on my high school team when I'm in middle school. And I'll never forget my first game seeing them play. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, the difference is they're bigger, faster, stronger. So how am I going to put myself in the position to be bigger, faster, stronger? That comes with lifting weights, doing the conditioning, even learning the game of basketball, understanding where my style of play will fit into a coach's method, um, the type of basketball we play as a team. Just trying to always evolve my brain or even physically to fit the game at my time of playing.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And would you say that from college to the pros was even more of a jump, or like do you think like they're like similar kind of jumps in terms of skill gaps?
I think so. So going from college to professional, the leagues I was in, the women weren't bigger than me. I think the women I played against in college, well, I know were bigger than me. So the leagues I played in Ireland, I was one of the bigger post players. So they weren't in the sense of bigger, faster, stronger, but it was a different pace of the game. So when you come from college to professional, you're the professional. They're paying you to get points and rebounds and make sure they win, right? So in college, you come and play with a group of women, or obviously if you're male, you play with a group of men, and you are coming together for one common goal under a coach. So when I played overseas, it was more of like, you go get these buckets, no questions asked. So
And you
in that
definitely did. I saw that you averaged like 20 plus a
I
game.
did, I did. So I'll never forget.
Straight bucket getter.
Yeah, in school, in college, I was definitely, I was a team player. I did what I was supposed to in the sets, score when I needed to. But I'll never forget my first professional coach. He was like, he was an Irish man, and he was just like, I need you to score the ball. So, I probably the accent's terrible, but he was just like, I don't. I took his words from that and definitely kept playing like that for the rest of the time I decided to play.
Straight bucket getter. And that's, I mean, everybody, anybody can look it up on the stats website. They can see you be scoring 25 a night, any given night. Um,
A guy who was training me, he gave me insight to just to try to get 5 points a quarter. That's can be 2 rebounds and a free throw. So if I think like 5 points a quarter, obviously four times five is 20, and there's 10 minutes, or I think it was 10-minute quarters. So there's 10-minute quarters. So you can do that in 2 minutes, but you gotta obviously pace yourself through the game. So he gave me a, I don't know, formula to try to average 20 points. So I would pace myself through the game.
And that was light work for you because you were scoring like 30, 30, 32. Like, you took it up a notch from there.
I try.
So I know you were very successful playing overseas, like obviously with those point totals and averaging very good stats. But you did stop playing professionally after only 3 seasons. So what made you transition from playing professionally overseas and traveling the world to staying more local and actually officiating professional games?
Right. So to even decide to go overseas, I was like, oh, okay, America's gonna be here. Obviously, my home base is gonna be here. So me living abroad, experiencing other people in different countries, experiencing other cultures, that was just something that's just like, why not do this while I'm still young and have no real responsibilities, right?
No kids.
Right, no kids. So what came to deciding that I changed is when I would come home, I didn't feel established as an adult, like get a apartment for to live in another country for 8 months out of the year. That sounds wasteful. My car would sit 8 months out of the year, end up having more issues. It's just over time, I didn't feel stable in, actually climbing as an adult. So I just felt like I'm not established here. I need to feel established. I need to get my, feet moving in this adulthood, but it didn't transpire for me to continue to play in that aspect.
And so, how did that lead to you officiating in professional
So
games?
here comes another angel. So in between playing overseas and waiting for my next contract, I would work camps. So I worked the ODU camps. So you know how you work at the clock for the different
Yep,
AU tournaments where they're trying to, the whole process of starting to try to be a college athlete for them.
yep,
I
yep.
was working the table, and obviously the officials need to be provided for those camps. And Tony Brothers, who's a current NBA official, he actually provided those officials for the Old Dominion camp. So I'll never forget, I'm working at a table in our rec center, and he comes up to me and he sits by me, and I'm like, oh God, this is that mean referee that's always on TV. Like, I hope he don't throw me out. And he asked me, he said, you should think about refereeing. And I gave him a look like, why I want to do that for? So people can just yell at me. No, thank you. I'm okay. I'm okay. And he actually showed me how much he makes. And I was like, hold on. What?
Dust off the
This
glasses
is
real quick.
right. I was like, this field is quite lucrative. I'm going to have to do my research. So literally the next camp, which was probably like 2 weeks later, I was in there with my jersey, whistle, shorts, and basketball shoes, ready to learn. So here he comes, another person in my path, in my life path that was definitely there to push me down the track I'm supposed to be down.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Just like truthfully, I know I don't know Tony Brothers personally, but I mean, just to be that down to earth with somebody he didn't know, you know what I mean? That's just pretty crazy.
Right.
Um, uh, that's a really cool story. Um, and so now that you are an official and you start preparing differently for games, what is that process like to like officiate an official game? Like being having all that kind of pressure on you to call the fouls, the game is in your hands. Is that kind of different from preparing from playing a game? Like, do you still warm up and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's so I find it very similar in regards of I'm preparing for the game as an official before I even get there. So from my eating, basketball, make sure I eat right because I'm still an athlete, you know. So I make sure I'm eating right. I'm still taking care of my body, as in working out, self care. I'm still even taking care of my own mental health, as we know that the climate has changed on mental health, but just making sure I'm all the way, here. And then there's some days I'm not, um, but there's more similarities in preparing for a basketball game as an official as well as preparing for a basketball game as a player because you still have to warm up, like you said. We still do. I don't want to call them scouting reports, but we're aware of teams. We're aware of trends. We're aware of the style of play. So basketball evolved from an inside to an outside game. Um, there's a lot of obviously more thinking to it because I'm always processing plays. So the preparation is more mental, but definitely a physical aspect because I'm running and trying to think at the same time. A lot of people can't chew gum and walk at the same time, So it's a lot, yes. But I can't take credit from the players because without them, I wouldn't be in the place I'm in today. So it definitely takes a lot of hard work on both sides, and for us to come together because sometimes there's a little strife between us sometimes. But we'll get back and just get back to the basketball game. But
Yeah.
it's a to me it's an equal job in trying to definitely have great basketball for fans and just anybody want to be a part of the culture. So
Yeah, I think fans and players as well, especially in the media, I think they usually use officials as scapegoats. But like, I
like it
think
is so
but I think like people need to understand like you don't want to make the wrong calls. Like you
I
want to be
don't.
perfect.
I want to be perfect. But who's perfect? I want to be perfect. I want to get every call right. I want to see everything. And sometimes it's disheartening when they call you blind and I'm like, but I'm not. There's a lot of people out here moving a lot and there's sometimes I just miss it and I apologize for that. I'm never gonna tell you you're wrong, so
Mhm.
can't apologize too much now then but but it comes with it. So, hopefully people understand that I'm not a robot or we're not robots. We're human too. And we got emotions too. So
Of
we just
course,
want
of
to be
course.
right. We just want to be right too.
Exactly, exactly. Just want to make the game better. That's it.
I do. I'm just here to
Um,
service it, and ensure the safety and the fairness of the game. So
yeah, yeah. And so, even outside of your officiating career, you are also a mental health specialist.
yes.
Um, so, what motivated you to pursue that as a profession on top of your officiating career?
Yes. So that's interesting because so in between trying to find a job, right, that I talked about, or stabilizing myself as an adult, it's difficult coming from being a college athlete to going to the, real world or the world because, only skills I built for the past 4 to 5 years were, team building skills, not only, but they were, more of team building skills with my teammates. So really when it came down to trying to find a job, they're going to ask you, well, what are your references? What is your experience? And my references are my basketball coaches and my experiences. I just played basketball collegiate for 4 to 5 years. So I ended up working at a YMCA for since 2016 because I got to school in 2015. So I ran basically a daycare facility there. So I'm working with children in Virginia Beach. So children, they come from all different dynamics and then they come into this pool of people trying to, explore themselves and figure out this world that they're growing up in. And I just ran that facility there. And of course, it comes with the different emotional things that come with it, with just working with kids. So there was a lady, she would come to my daycare every day, and she would visit one of my kids that was like, he was a little troubled, sometimes his behaviors weren't so positive. And she would work with him, and I would walk past every day their session, and I'm like, what, can I ask you, what is it that you do? Like, what are you doing with him? And she explained to me what her job title was. So her job title was a qualified mental health professional. So I was like, well, what does that mean? Well, and she didn't have to tell me because I'm somebody gonna do my research. So she talked to me about how her schedule is very free, and how she just has a caseload of different clients, adults and children, and she just serviced their individual service plan. So she gave me the number and everything, this website that I need to go on to, this board of councils, and all I needed to do. So I jumped into that. And the craziest thing is, when I got out of school, I actually wanted to be a juvenile probation officer because I personally believe no kid is bad. They're just probably, the outcome of circumstances,
Yeah.
or they just never really had opportunity. So I wanted to help any juvenile that, essentially probably got on the wrong track and put them on a different one.
Yep.
So to me, this is that in a different way, and it serves to my schedule. I'm able to expose my clients to colleges that they've never seen, places they never thought they would go. And I got into it because I really want to influence people and, help generations that aren't as lucky as I was, to have people come into their life. So hopefully I'm those people hopefully I'm those people for my clients that I have had for where I'm at right now. So
Yeah, and like you mentioned at the very beginning, like I think like with this new rise of mental health awareness and stuff like that, it's really important for people like more people who are like you who see that kind of problem and recognize it and want to help people and pursue that as a career. I mean, you're doing both. You have basically two full-time jobs doing it at the same time.
I do. I do. I never try to say one's my side job because to me they equal out. I just have two jobs.
Of course, yeah, yeah, exactly. That's how you should rep it. Um,
Yeah.
and now being a mental health specialist, what are your thoughts on the new rise of like mental health awareness, especially among players? Like we see a couple of years ago, I believe it was, or last year, it was Tony Snell, um, who came out as with all like publicly said that he has autism or some form of that on the spectrum and stuff like that. And so, what is your perspective from that? Being a former player and a mental health specialist.
Yes. I be comfortable. So there's HIPAA, So if you want to express that these are things that are within you, by all means, please. And hopefully that you can receive people that will be, I don't want to say sensitive, but aware of things that are about you. So we don't live in a climate where everyone will be, you know. But I would hope that people hearing other people's story behind what's going on with them, they'll be able to have empathy or sympathy for them. I think mental health is very serious, because it's a fight within someone's self. I don't know what's going on in your head. You don't know what's going on in my head. So that's why it's probably the biggest, is the biggest thing being like study, because how can there be a doctor to get into your brain to help you out with whatever you're sick with, like a doctor that helps with your body. So I just think that I love that there's awareness for it now, because there's really people who are struggling with their own thoughts, and how do you help them with their own thoughts or their own feelings, their own body telling them that, as in anxiety, telling them that something's wrong all the time. How do you can't really tell them, oh, it's okay, you're fine. No, you have to understand where someone's coming from, what they're feeling, and try your best to not make them uncomfortable with what's going on with them. You know, so that's my biggest. Um,
Yeah, no, you're right, and to what you said about like officials are people too, like athletes are people as well. Like they're just
Exactly.
this
They're
regular,
not
like outside of the arena, they're
yeah,
just like
right.
me, like the regular average person that's
Yeah,
working a
we
job. You know
don't
what I
put
mean?
them in a different place because they're this athlete who is great at a particular sport, and I don't think it's fair because they're still a human being at the end of the day too. You know.
Of course, of course. Um, and now, if transitioning back to women's sports in particular,
Hmm.
I know you see the rise and of Angel Reese's, Caitlin Clark's, Aaliyah Boston,
Love it.
and especially with the W. If you saw the finals this year, they sold out at the Barclays and I think at Las Vegas Arena as well. So, what does that make you see? How does that make you feel seeing the new generation? Um, Capitalizing on what your generation paved for them.
Right. A little bit jealous because, like, the NIL with the Instagram, just a little jealous, just a little bit.
That's
But
yeah.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. It seems so long, not so long, because people will be like, "Girl, are you 15 years old?" But it's just everyone has been tailored to watching men's sports, and finally the lens has shared the space. You know, I love to see it. I love to see these young women come out here, be themselves, get buckets, and just show passion. I love it. It makes me happy because I'm a part of a culture that is forever going to keep evolving, climbing. I just love it. I love to say, yeah, I play women's basketball. They say where? Old Dominion, yeah, powerhouse of women's basketball. I love it.
What's it called? Yeah, I mean, I've like working with the basketball team that I do, like I'm able to attend some WNBA games, and truthfully, I feel like some WNBA games are a lot more enjoyable than most NBA games. I think it's just a
Yes,
different game presentation aspect of it all, and like
we
it's
just
just I
can't.
feel like they care a little bit more.
Yeah, we just can't. Don't. It's well, it's not. I can't say can't, but we just don't. Fly high over the rim. That's all I think. I think we have a lot of just to our game.
Yeah.
I love it.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's definitely a cool thing to see women's sports continue to grow. Especially like I can't wait to see what it looks like in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and see
You
how
know.
how much more growth it really does get. Um,
Yes.
and
Did you see the
and not
NCAA? Their rankings already got busted up in the first week. First
yes,
one and number
yes,
one and number two. So I'm like, oh, March is about to be stressful.
yeah, for real. Are you? Do you think you're going to be officiating one of those games?
I don't know if I'm ever blessed to. I would
Uh,
definitely wait, but I don't know. I don't
it's in God's hands. It's in God's
know. Yes.
hands. Just keep praying for it. um, and now we wanted to transition for the final two questions back to your own personal life.
Yeah.
Um, who would you say is your biggest role model, and why would you consider them your biggest role model?
I can say I don't have a one role, like one person for one role, because to me, I'm in different places all the time. So if I see something that's fitting for me, I'm going to take that, put it in my pocket. Over here, if someone's doing something that can, help make me a better person, or just anything with a little tweak of my personality, tweak of how I speak, how I carry myself, I take things from all people, and put it in my pocket because I don't want to just be like someone else. I do want to always be me, but there's things that we can learn from different people to make you. So I don't have a one biggest role model. I don't.
That's fair. That's a fair answer, and I think I've had other people say that same thing. Um, I think I think that's important to definitely learn from other people. And I think it's definitely a unique perspective, and I think it might be Do you think it has anything to do with you being a mental health specialist as well, or you feel like you can't really rely on somebody?
Probably because I'm like always observing people, and I'm always just even I tell my clients when I learn something from them, I'm like, you taught me something today. I really appreciate you. Those are words that they don't hear often. You know, they're
Yeah,
always told negative things. So when I learn something from them, I let them know. I let them know when they had a great day. I let them know when they are made me laugh. You know, I try to be a I try to be something different than what people expect. You know, like
yeah.
I do.
Okay. Okay. And for the final question, it might be a little hard given what you just explained, but what would you say is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Best piece of advice. I would say there's for the different road treks I've been on, you know, um, the biggest advice is probably you never know who the boss gonna be, and I'm gonna explain that. You just never know who's gonna be in what position, so you just always have to be aware of how you treat people and just how you make people feel. That's the biggest advice because it's always people in these positions and places that you want to get to. So you never know who the boss gonna be.
I definitely want to emphasize that in the world of sports,
Yeah,
especially on the business side.
yeah,
It's just as there as many sports team as there are, people are moving around within sports, and you're always going to run into somebody you meet for the first time. You like it'll always come back full circle no matter what, and and definitely want to emphasize that for sure. And I appreciate you saying that.
yeah.
Um, Shalisa, I appreciate you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. Where can the people find you on social media?
My Instagram is she paints the world. Is that my Instagram? Look, I don't be on the internet like that because the internet is an interesting place half the time. Oh yes, it's she paints the world. CHEPAINT underscore the underscore world. So
And
as you
I'll
know,
put that up
my
on
last
the.
name is paint a picture. So she
Oh,
paints the
that's
world.
nice.
You know.
And all those paintings behind you too.
Yes. Well, I ain't paint these. I mean, we have Michelle Obama, Rihanna, and Oprah.
Oprah.
Yes.
Do you have anything that you do
So,
paint or no?
I do have a couple paintings. I would have to get up and go get them. Let me
Don't
think.
worry
Do I
about
want
it.
to show the world? I can show. No,
Okay.
I'll show
Okay.
what. My favorite animal is a giraffe. It's a giraffe. So I painted the
Okay.
giraffe that hangs up in my referee.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's like,
Oh, you can pull it. Okay, that's cool.
so I painted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Real life Picasso right there.
A little bit, trying. Trying. So yeah.
That's funny. But yeah, Shalisa, I appreciate you so much for taking the time out of your busy day, and thank you so much for just spreading out your knowledge and your experiences, and hopefully somebody who listens to this can be helped by that and be encouraged.
Thank you so much, Alex, for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Outside the Jersey. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Outside the Jersey. Don't forget to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. Until next time.